All right, hello everyone. I'm JaVonni Brustow with Petersburg Solution, and I am here with our founder, Montrey, and we're interviewing Marcus Squires, the Ward 4 City Council candidate. Mr. Squires, well, thanks for sitting down with us. I really appreciate it. It's been a little while coming. But just before we start, you were telling a story about how you had moved to Petersburg and the process of buying your home. And I had no idea that you were apparently doing all the work yourself.
Yeah, so I mean, it can be rewarding when you do put in effort, and then it becomes a labor of love. A lot of these homes in Petersburg, if you want to get a nice home and you don't want to pay a high price, you can come in with a conventional mortgage, but then you can also add a 2 or 3K renovation loan, and you can attach that to your mortgage. So you can buy some of these beautiful rundown homes here in Petersburg and receive bank financing for these homes to restore these homes, and then you can also renovate these homes. And when you renovate them, you get to make them your own, and you get to put that personalized touch on them.
Yes. When you first mentioned that you were doing it yourself, I was convinced in seeing this home, and I believe you had mentioned having other properties, that you were spending quite a pretty penny and having the work done on these.
Yeah.
I said myself, for anything that's near 100 years old, I didn't want to touch, just because of the amount of work and effort and money that was going into it.
Well, I mean, these old
or
homes,
the money that could be going into it, rather.
Well, yes, you do always have situations like that, but these old homes are built with sturdy timbers. They're actually built better than some of these newer homes.
Oh, absolutely.
I had JS Foundation Repair come out to look at some mortar work that needed to be done on my carriage house. And, I was asking him, oh, you must do a lot of business with these older homes. He was actually telling me that most of his business is from, homes that were built in the 2000s, because a lot of the good land has already been developed. So that was a revelation for me.
Right. As I said, that was very impressive. I mean, I had a relative who, as I said, suggested that I do the same thing, and I said, just absolutely not. They told me that you could do tile yourself. I said, nope, I am not touching it. But that's very impressive. As I said, I actually didn't expect that. So tell us, what made you decide to run for city council here?
So I moved to Petersburg a while ago, and I attended a lot of city council meetings. And I kept trying to work with the system here in Petersburg. I started the war, as what I call it the war on Blight here in the city of Petersburg. And I really tried to work with city officials, my council representatives, but I kept hitting a brick wall. They kept trying to placate me, tell me, oh, we're getting to it, or oh, it's going to happen soon, don't worry, Mr. Squires. And I didn't see any results. So I ended up having to essentially be the squeaky wheel, bring attention to the issues here in our city. And, I've been bringing attention to these issues in our city, and I've been getting results. And this has just been in the last couple of months, honestly. I've been seeing a lot of results. And I believe that if and when I do get on council, I'll be able to bring even more results here to the city of Petersburg and to the people of Petersburg. One of my other, aspirations is to actually bring resources to those who need them. There are a lot of people in our city that own homes and they cannot afford to maintain them. But there are a lot of different government programs which have been set up for homeowners here in the city of Petersburg, or just here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. For my constituents in Ward 4, I've been going door to door, and I've been giving them all lists of resources. And I'm going back on my second round, third round to some of these individuals, and they're telling me that they've called some of the resources, and they're getting new windows put in their house. Their kitchen floor, which was caving in, is being rebuilt up. So I mean, just in my campaigning efforts, I'm seeing real change in this city, and I believe that I can continue to bring change into this city. And that's one of the reasons why I am running. I want to see and bring change to Petersburg. I see the potential in Petersburg. I see what we have already here in Petersburg, and I want to continue building on that. I want to focus on community wealth building here in Petersburg. I want to focus on fixing our schools. I want to focus on our basic city services. I want to focus on making our city a livable city. These are just some of the things.
Yes. And I wanted to mention the fact that you said that you were knocking on doors and handing out, informing your neighbors of what the resources are for repairing their homes. This is a very good thing. I know that as far as some of our downtown businesses, there's a number of them that could use a bit of a facelift. And I said that I know that there are, that the city does have incentives for repairing their businesses. But I said, I wonder how many know of this. Out of all the city council meetings that I've attended, I've never heard it mentioned. And I said that, and I mean, many do look good, but just, for the others. I said that going over some of the, or going over the information on the city website, some of the jargon might not be something, that they could understand. It again, never comes up in any of these meetings. So I said that someone should possibly from the city be actually door knocking on these businesses just for the sake of saying, hey, I noticed that you could use some work being done, it's the facade, and here's your options, and we can, help bridge that gap. So that's
the facade improvement program in Old Town, it hasn't been funded for the last maybe 4 or 5 years.
I didn't know that.
It used to be funded with community development block grant funds,
Okay.
but they have stopped pushing for that initiative to be funded. And I do know that there is a couple $100,000 in the Dunn Beautification Trust.
Okay.
But I don't know the exact stipulations on that beautification trust. I don't know if it's just for a particular area, a particular home, or just all of Old Town or all of Petersburg. And I've tried to get information on the Dunn Trust here in the city, but I haven't had any responses. The city has stopped responding to me essentially.
You're a bit of a squeaky wheel. I don't quite know how they can do that. I'm sure you'll make a little bit of noise and they'll come around. I'm sorry.
Okay, Marcus, what should be the city role in preserving history?
So there are a variety of things that the city of Petersburg can do. So we currently have 3 kinds of historical districts in our city. We have local historical districts, national, and state historical districts. So if your building or structure is in a national or state historical district, you can do anything you want to it. You can demolish it. You can paint it pink. A national and state historical district does not stop from the demolition occurring. A local district does. If you want to demolish something in a local district, you have to go through a series of steps and achieving your goal of demolition. Usually you have to put it up for sale for a certain amount of time. So in regards to the home that was demolished on Pocahontas Island, so what the city could have done in that situation, they could have actually implemented a spotlight eminent domain here in the city of Petersburg. That's one of the laws in the Code of the Commonwealth. We could have bought that building for the assessed price through eminent domain, or through spotlight eminent domain, and we could have taken that structure back. There is a program which has been implemented through the planning department. I believe it's the Renovate to Restore Our Neighborhoods program, and they have around $50,000 in that fund. I believe that the home on Pocahontas was only assessed for around $17,000. They could have easily used that $50,000, purchased the house through the Spotlight Eminent Domain program, stabilized it, and then sold it to someone who then could have saved the house from demolition. There's obviously a breakdown in City Hall with interdepartmental communication issues. People are not relaying information around City Hall. I was told that there was
about the people not answering the phone, so I'm not surprised about that.
And people not answering emails as well.
Could you tell us about what was the backstory for that property on Pocahontas Island? Because I don't recall the history of it. I just remember seeing after it was torn down and how some people in the community were obviously upset about it.
So the story goes that it was it's an antebellum structure. It had a full basement.
Right, and it had the Underground Railroad, I believe, that went to the house.
Yes, it did have a safe passage room, which was in the basement, and that is what the legends say. And it was demolished. I know that the owner, I believe,
By the property owner or the city?
By the property owner did it, because the city has started enforcing code here. And a lot of these properties are actually, they're dangerous to be around if you don't stabilize them. So the city wanted her to stabilize it, and she put the permit in to demolish the home. And at that point, people in City Hall knew that she was about to demolish it. And, the city didn't stop her.
Right.
We have a council that knew that it was about to be demolished. We had city administrators that knew it was about to be demolished, and they didn't do anything. I mean, we have a city manager that, when she first came here, she didn't really understand why, why would you preserve buildings? Let's build new things. Why would you want to preserve the old? But when you speak to more and more developers, more and more people around the United States, they are starting to see the value and worth in these historical structures. They're starting to see that the way that the homes were built, they were built with quality materials. They were built on better land. They have a value to them. And more people are seeing that value and charm. Just the other day, a family I met, they moved here from Maryland because they saw the value and the charm in these historical homes here in Petersburg. So we just really need to continue to push for the preservation of our history. And it's all of our history, from Pocahontas Island to Peabody, to Poplar Lawn, to the Halifax Triangle, to Harrison Street, where the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Safe House is. It's the home of Reverend Wyatt T. Walker. We have all of these wonderful assets that are not being promoted by tourism. They're not being promoted by the city, and they're languishing away. And pretty soon they will disappear. And these great tourist attractions will be gone. And, if they're a footnote in history, no one's going to come to see an empty lot. People are going to actually want to see a tangible structure, something that they can look at, feel, touch, be immersed in.
Can you elaborate on the Southside Depot project?
So the Southside Depot project, the National Park Service is supposed to locate their headquarters for the Petersburg National Park in Old Town. It's supposed to bring, anywhere from 30 to 50,000 patrons a year. This is pre-COVID. 30 to 50,000 additional patrons to the Old Town Historical District. That's 30 to 50,000 additional, customers here in Old Town. People discovering Old Town. People taking pictures of Old Town, uploading it on Yelp, social media, Google. And then all of a sudden, you have all of these, multimedia sources that are all covering Petersburg, and all of a sudden people in Richmond who've lived in Richmond for 30, 40 years their whole life, they've never been to Petersburg, and they say, oh, this is just 24 minutes away.
Right.
Let's go down to Petersburg. We really need to focus on exposing this city, exposing the beautiful wealth and history and culture here in our city. And we currently have a council and city manager who does not see that worth in those potential consumers. I did have a meeting with Aretha Farrell Benavides a few years ago, and she told me that these consumers would all be brown paper bag consumers, meaning that they would bring their own lunches. They won't be, going to Kroger's Spot or, DJ Raging Cajun's Cafe or Long Street or Dixie. They would not be going to any of these restaurants in Old Town. They would be bringing their own lunches. So why would we focus on bringing brown paper bag, consumers to our city? And I don't believe that. I do believe that these people would see the charm in our Old Town. They'd want to experience, envelop themselves in these beautiful restaurant spaces. They want to go into the antique shops, find different oddities and curiosities, and, bring them back to their homes. So I didn't believe that. And right now, in regards to Southside Depot, there are a lot of grant funds which are actually missing. And I've done a FOIA request to the city, Mr. Frank Poulton, who was our FOIA director at one point. I did a FOIA request to him. He told me that the city did not have the documents and I needed to reach out to VDOT in regarding the VDOT grants. I reached out to VDOT. VDOT told me that the city had those documents. And when I reached back out to him, then they asked me to pay to receive the documents. I don't have, a lot of funds to be paying, egregious prices to obtain FOIA documents from our city. We really need to focus on a city hall that is transparent. We should have an open government. We should not have a closed city hall where the people don't know what's going on. the funds cannot be accounted for. We really need to have a transparent government.
And I wanted to mention just to piggyback on the brown paper bag notion. I mean, that's a little of an unfortunate comment, but I have to say that I think that that the restaurants here are probably one of our biggest draws. Because being from DC, if I want to, leave out of the door and, go for coffee or go for lunch or something, I have to break my neck to go through traffic, even if it's, just a few blocks around the corner. So I want to say one of my first meetings that I had was to have coffee with someone at about 9:30. And I said, I was able to get up and to come downtown and to sit here and to not have a line and to not be in traffic, and this is a miracle. I've never had this my entire life.
Yes, we definitely have a wonderful quality of life here in Petersburg.
Very much.
We don't have many traffic lights to go through. We don't have a lot of traffic. So there is a certain quality of life that you can obtain here in Petersburg that you can't obtain in other cities.
And even just comparatively, like the median income for Petersburg to the lower side of the economic spectrum in DC. These are people who are literally begging for the things that we have downtown, to make the same amount. And I'm, telling people that are there saying, this is actually pretty good, for those who are making this amount and to still be able to go out and to be able to do things, sans traffic. So as much as I can, I've been trying to poach friends and businesses that I know of in the district to try and come down. But part of the issue is our reputation and just this negative black cloud that we have over the city. And a lot of times I say that, City Hall definitely has its issues. But I've said that a lot of these things I think can be fixed just with a bully pulpit. When you were talking about the history of the city, I've said that someone needs to be in front of the camera, in this case, preferably either the mayor or the city administrator, to sell these things. What all of our amenities are here in Petersburg, so that people can actually want to come. So that when people actually Google the city, they don't just see, what our murder rate is.
Well, that goes along the lines of our public relations director. Kimmy's our public relations director, but when you go on social media, you don't see a lot for Petersburg. If you search Google, you don't see a lot. So we really need to focus on, our tourism department, our public relations department, and, getting the word out there about Petersburg. But then at the same time, we have people in Petersburg who have only been to Old Town a couple times, and they're just driving through or walking through. We really need to focus on those people as well. We need to focus on community wealth building so that those individuals can, have enough money to actually maybe go out to eat once, or, go out for breakfast. So if we just focus on bringing the outsiders in, we will have forgotten an entire segment of our population, which they need our help. They need our advocacy work.
One of my biggest pet peeves too, when you're actually planning to, rebuild a city, not to forget the people who are living there.
Yes, and there are a lot of things that we can do to focus on community wealth building. I know that we do have a vocational program set up with John Tyler Community College, but a lot of the students who would like to go to that vocational school, a lot of the times they can't get the proper transportation. So then that entire line of access to workforce development is cut off for these students. We really need to focus on bringing a vocational and trade school here to Petersburg. We have the Appomattox Regional Governor's School here in Petersburg. Why not have a regional trade school here in Petersburg? Why not look at having the Commonwealth come in and using a portion of Peabody and putting in a regional vocational school where we have people from all over the Commonwealth coming to this big, beautiful, historical facility here in Petersburg and gaining skills so that they can build their own wealth. Because here in America, we have the wonderful opportunity of coming out of a liberal education system, so you can do whatever you want after you get that high school diploma or GED. And if we can focus on bringing our youth to, graduate from Petersburg High School with an associate's degree through Richard Bland or John Tyler College, Community College, or if we can focus on getting a vocational school here in Petersburg with easy access provided for all of our students so that they can have that option as well. Because college isn't for everybody. Not everybody wants to go into academia or finance and, or be a lawyer. Some people want to work with their hands. Some people might want to be an electrician. Somebody might want to, work in carpentry. And, these skills are dying. Not many people are going into these trades anymore. A lot of them are just apprenticeships.
And I'll add that the nation's largest trade associations have all been saying that they're short-staffed, that they need to have people for these jobs, but there's, no training around for it.
And imagine if,
ground zero.
imagine if we did have, that branch of our workforce development built up here in the Commonwealth, and then all of these outside agencies and businesses and companies come in because we have produced so many workers who are capable of doing those jobs. These old, beautiful homes, these children are young men and young women who graduate from these vocational schools. You can still buy $20,000, $10,000, $5,000 houses in Petersburg. And, they could go in with the skills that they've learned, renovate these homes, and build their own wealth.
If you're able to do it, that gives me some hope.
Yeah,
as far as the actual manual labor goes.
Yeah. It takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of sleepless nights, though. There are some nights where I was working till, the sun came up. And, I went to bed for a couple hours and had to go back at it.
I've worked in real estate in the past, and I have stepped in and given some instruction and direction to others doing some work. But doing that myself, I've not gotten to doing that. And listen, when you were talking about having this regional trade school, and by having people to be able to come in from different parts of the area, and even just the students to come across the city to that. One of our biggest issues, I would say here, or one of the more glaring ones that I saw, is our public transit. I've not taken it, but my first thought was that Richmond is the nearest largest metropolitan region. So the people who live here must work in Richmond. And so, people here are on the more lower end of the economic spectrum. They all must be taking the bus up and down, 95 to Richmond all the time. And I find out that it's something like, I think the bus goes 2 or 3 times per day. And so
Yes.
I really don't think that's conducive to people working here. So if we have a lack of economic opportunity in Petersburg, and there's apparently all of this opportunity in Richmond, and we're doing nothing to facilitate people to actually get to these jobs, no wonder the unemployment rate is what it is now. I think that it's something like, just in the city alone, maybe 4,000 or 7,000 people unemployed, 4,000 or 7,000 jobs just alone in the city that are open.
So I do believe I read that there is a transportation plan that is being put in place right now where they're going to try to have a bus every 15 minutes between Richmond and Petersburg. That is what the plan is when the parking deck is built. So they're hoping that individuals who live in Emporia, who live in Dinwiddie, Prince George, they'll drive into Old Town Petersburg, they'll park in the parking deck, and they'll take the the bus that goes between Richmond and Petersburg every 15 minutes. So that way they will not have to drive all the way to Richmond and back. So the bus will go up and down 95 to Richmond. And then the other part of the parking deck in Old Town is that they are going to focus on bringing a higher speed rail line all the way from the Carolinas all the way up to
that I'm aware of. Do you know
New York.
the time frame of that now?
Well, I do know that about 2 weeks ago, a $50 million grant was awarded to North Carolina to finish buying up the needed track from the Carolinas to Petersburg.
Okay.
So right now, the only thing that's holding them up is the S line between Petersburg and Richmond. So once the S line deal is finally closed, then there will be a clear line for infrastructure to be put between the Carolinas and New York for higher speed rail. And the end goal, and I believe it's in 5 years, they're wanting to have trains between Richmond and DC, and I believe Petersburg is on the short list of being included in that. But they're wanting to have trains every 15 minutes between Richmond, Petersburg, and DC. So that would make Petersburg a bedroom community for Washington, D.C.
And I'll say that this is very good economic news. So every time something like this happens, if the public were to hear it, well, boom, people might be coming and actually decide to open businesses here. They might decide to start purchasing property. But that's a missed opportunity. And as someone who's worked sort of in the communications field for a municipality, you're supposed to look for each of these opportunities to share with the public, because those are our new residents. That's increased tax revenue just for each of those stories, but it never happens. And so we sort of have this, there's this feeling of voter malaise and doom and gloom, because they feel that nothing is improving or nothing is going to change. There's no reason to show up to city council meetings because, what difference is going to make? The city's been this way for as long as, some can remember, as they say. But, sitting and listening to talk about this, this is literally the type of sharing of information with the public that I've been saying needs to be done. So
yeah, and I mean, the city tried to do the same exact thing with me in regards to Blight here in the city of Petersburg. I remember when I went to a city council meeting 4 years ago, there was a whole entire discussion about Blight and how the city administration was going to start working on eradicating Blight.
And reports of that, and I think that's about the last time that I've seen reports, literally 4 years ago.
And then, about a year and a half ago, I think it was about a year and a half ago, I started, this big effort to eradicate blight in the city. I went around, I took over 200 pictures of blighted homes. I sent those pictures to the press, city council, officials in Richmond, and, the city started feeling the heat. I started to organize and I started recruiting people, and we were going to have a large meeting at the library, and then the city stepped in and they're like, I think it would be better if we work together. And, I believed in the city. I was like, okay, I will work with you. And, Miss Peters, people from the Cameron Foundation, and a lot of other people met in the library, and we all decided that we were going to start on, a pilot program, and we were going to survey the historical districts, and we were going to survey all the blighted structures. And this was actually a very, very bad maneuver. I don't want to say it's wicked what the city did, because they had all of these citizens go out, and we surveyed all the neighborhoods, and all that they were trying to do was placate, tire us out, and make us think that we did something so that we would all forget what's going on. They haven't finished Miss Kate San Gregorio. She hasn't finished the Blight survey yet. Many of us have been asking, what's going on with the Blight survey, Kate San Gregorio? What's going on with the Blight survey, Aretha Farrell Benavides? What's going on with it? Many citizens in this city took days of their life out on the streets of Petersburg surveying all of these historical structures so that the city could come up and devise a list of the most critical blighted structures. One of them being the Underground Railroad house on Pocahontas Island. That was definitely on the Blight survey. And we have a city administration that continues to try to push these efforts forward, and not only on citizens, but also on council members, where they tell council, oh, look, we're making progress, and the citizens and council are like, oh, the city's making progress on that. And then they don't push them anymore. And then everybody sort of just forgets what was supposed to be going on, and the city continues to go and do whatever they want to do, and they're not focusing on the needs of the people, because they're thinking to themselves, oh, they've all forgotten, so now we can go back to whatever we were doing. All right,
Speaking on Blight, the Ramada Inn, do we have any update on the Ramada Inn?
So what I've heard about the Ramada Inn is that Mr. Harrison plans on turning it into apartments or condos. I do not believe him.
Just curious. Did condo specifically come up? The word?
Yeah, condos.
I was wondering because, I'm sorry for interrupting. We have 0 condos in the city, which I'm completely shocked at. So just hearing the word condo, I'm getting excited.
Yeah, so that's what he's talking about, but I don't believe it. I feel that he is just trying to put the word out so he can get more.
Buy some more time.
He can buy more time. And he can get more people to actually
Shut up.
buy in. Well, not just that, but buy into his plan to rehabilitate the model tobacco building in Richmond. Right now, he has so much bad press over the old hotel at Interstate Exit 52 that he is having trouble finding anybody that will back him, anybody that will go in on a project with him. So at this point, since it's been taking so long, there's a reversion clause in the contract where the city can actually take back the Ramada Inn or the abandoned hotel at Exit 52 for $750,000. Mayor Parham was on the record about a year ago, I want to say, and he was saying that there were many developers who were lined up. They want to buy the Ramada. Why not then, you know, if you have all these developers lined up that want to buy it, why not have them, you know, put $750,000 into a contingency fund, buy back the Ramada Inn from Harrison, do the reversion clause. We don't have to do spotlight eminent domain and buy it for over $1 million because that's what it's assessed at. We can go in, buy it for $750,000, and then allow for one of these developers to come to the table and show us what they want to do. We'll set a time limit, a strict time limit on the contract. And if you don't complete the project in, 2 years, then it reverts to us and we don't pay anything for that reversion. And that's my 2 cents on what should happen to that building right now, because it's an eyesore. It detracts from development. It detracts from consumers coming into our city and spending money. A lot of my friends from Richmond, they have lived in Richmond their whole life. I brought them down to the Oyster Festival at Battersea last year, and they had no idea Old Town existed. No idea. They had no idea we had all these beautiful shops and restaurants, because whenever they drive by, all that they think of when they think about Petersburg are these rundown hotels. And that is the image of Petersburg right now to the outsider. If you are trying to leave Virginia and you are trying to go south, the terminus to Interstate 85 and 95 intersect right here in Petersburg. This is essentially the gateway to the Commonwealth of Virginia. And our state and the Corporation of Petersburg, continue to allow for this developer to let this building look like this. I mean, it just makes no sense. I mean, the citizens are sick of it. Council members should know that the citizens are sick of it. Yet they want to continue to hold on to this blighted, or they want to continue to let this developer hold on to this blighted monstrosity.
It's hard, I'd say it's hard for me to even fathom what the issue is, in the sense that if you know where a property owner is of a blighted property, if you can physically go to their office, then you can actually go into legal proceedings to take over the property. And this has been going on for years. And I've also gone over, a similar process in a municipality that I worked in. That we had a number of blighted homes where they were in foreclosure. We didn't know who the owners were. We did a press conference to basically call everyone out. These homes are a danger to the community. Yes. And the city hall's phone started going off, left and right, because they, of course, had been embarrassed, and we were reading off street addresses on camera, which sounds like something that you.
Well, that was something that I had pushed for when I was trying to partake in the war on blight here in the city of Petersburg. I wanted them to create a virtual map, sort of like they do in GIS or Geographical Information Systems. And the city took theirs down. I started going through they're saying it was for an update, but I was going through.
I do remember this. This was sometime within the last.
Yes, and it's supposed to be going up around December of this year.
It did come up in the last city council meeting, I will say.
Yes. It was really coincidental. I was going through and I was finding out that the Prince of Petersburg, Dave McCormick, owns so many blighted structures around our city.
Still?
And he's selling a lot of them now. But I had coffee with him.
Property. I mean, I read some amazing, angel stories about the guy. I just didn't know that he owned a ton of property.
Yes, he owned a lot of blighted property in the city of Petersburg. And he was very upset with me that I had started this war on blight. Sort of told me, if you want to be anything in the city, you're going to have to, be with me or, be on my team. And,
I
I'm not
don't know
willing
much about
to,
the guy. I've
well, I'm not
never
willing to
met him, but I can
compromise.
imagine that.
I mean, if we have a public safety issue in this city, I mean, one of his front porches collapsed onto the street. If we have a public safety issue in this city, I don't care if you are a
Flood really
millionaire.
are a public safety threat. I've seen homes collapse and
Yes.
go clear into
I mean,
the street
imagine
while
if one of
people are
our
walking.
children, or one of our children were walking down the sidewalk, or they were playing tag, and all of a sudden a structure collapses onto the street.
Well, what about
What is that mother gonna do?
fire? That's kind of a big deal. I didn't want to move into a wooden property, sort of for that reason, especially with the firehouse situation that was happening.
Yes.
That I was concerned about, and I've also lived through a 3 or 4 alarm fire
I'm sorry about that, but I mean that's
in a cement high rise. It was nowhere near me. So my thing is, like a whole block away, but still. But my point is that these wooden homes, and if we possibly have issues with, our fire department, God forbid.
yeah. Well, I
And we
mean,
had an arson problem here. I think
we did, but I mean that goes into the blighted homeowners. A lot of these blighted homeowners, they're not everyday people that don't have a lot of money. A lot of them are multi-millionaires. I mean, one of them's Dr. Bill Fitzhugh. In my opinion, he is a property speculator. Like you said, these people are waiting for they're waiting for the city to have its metamorphosis and then sell these blighted structures for hundreds of thousands of dollars when they didn't do anything to help preserve them. So we have a lot of that going on here in the city of Petersburg, and City Hall right now is trying to protect these multimillionaires because actually I don't even know why they're trying to protect them. Call them out. They have the money to make these renovations. So I'm not sure why City Hall is trying to save face with these people. Because if they were to do like you were saying, the former locality that you worked in, if they would call these people out, then maybe they'll do something about these public safety threats. Because the moment one of these homes fall on a child, we are going to come for the city. Because the city and that owner knew that these homes were a public safety threat to the individuals in our community.
Recently, Charlie Cupboard posted a timeline on the jury house. So can you give us like a little update on?
So I know he copied and pasted that without giving credit to the proper individual at City Hall. But at the same time, that structure had a lot of money that was, given through grants, through the Cameron Foundation for the stabilization and the restoration of the structure. Yet nothing was going on. This structure was falling apart. They're saying that it's sound, but there are still critical issues. If you saw, the renovation work could not wait until October 1st. That's why the crews went out as soon as they did their most recent inspection. That building was at a critical threat status, and they're going out there, they're stabilizing it now. I went out there and I got a lot of people involved. I got a lot of people talking at City Hall, and I'm glad that they pushed that effort forward. And I do believe that if more of us got out there and we demanded change, not just a few of us who are the people blowing the horns and ringing the bells, if we could have a large group of citizens that attend city council meetings, that demand more from our elected officials, then we could get more done here in the city of Petersburg. And don't worry about saving face, because these people will tell you what they want to, what you want to hear to try to placate you, so that you will be like, oh, Lionel Lyons has it under control. He's going to get to it. Or, Aretha Farrell Benavides, she has it. Or Darnetta Tyus, she'll get to it soon. She told me. And then 1-2 years pass and nothing happens. And you're taking the word of these city officials and you are basically entrusting the city in them. And they're not following through with their promises, with what they said that they were going to do. And our city continues to suffer. We do have some good things. Don't get me wrong. We have some good things happening in Petersburg. But we still have too many cold cases. We have too many properties which are public safety issues. We have too many people who are living in fear. We have too many people that are hungry here in this city. We need to do more to uplift our community. We are such a small locality. There should not be this many issues for such a small locality.
In the bigger picture, when it comes to Pocahontas Island, what do you see happening there? Like,
Well, right now, Pocahontas Island is inhabited by a family. That island belongs to them right now. So it's not for me to say what will happen on that island. It's for me to listen, to engage with my community, and hear what they want for that community. It's not for me to say what happens to the city. I just want to listen, help advocate, write policy, and see how I can help you as an everyday citizen in this city of Petersburg. I want to help you be as successful as you can be. I want to help this city rise, and that's what I'm trying to do right now.
I wanted to mention that for to see your war on blight, addressing blight in the city is a lot of work, and it takes someone who has the tenacity and the energy to be able to go after this, because you're going to be in this for the long haul. And do you happen to know how many blighted structures? I know that you all did
Last
survey.
I checked, we had around 200 blighted structures in the city of Petersburg.
200.
It was around 200, yes.
Okay, and I mean, if I happen to be working in the administration, and I see that this is a passion of yours, I would have tried to collaborate and to try and pull you in to do something. Why they chose not to do that, I don't know. But as far as my time in the city, I've been in Petersburg now for close to 2 years. I came down from DC, 3 years ago. I was in Hopewell for the first year. And I had heard nothing nice about Petersburg before I came here. And I had, really not heard much of anything. And I didn't bother to do any research because I said I'll never be going down there. So it really didn't make any difference. Nothing's down there anyway. No news comes from there, unless it's crime related, or Trey Songz, whatever. So when I came here, going through Old Town, I made about 2 trips through the downtown area. I said, you know what, I like it. And I decided to move in. I was able to see, the future and the fact that things were happening. You have loft conversions that are happening. You have small dogs that are, that people are out walking. But as for the people who are actively working to make the change, it is a bit of a small minority. And probably my biggest initiative is just trying to get as many people as possible involved in the political process. What would you do to be able to get more people attending city council meetings and things of that nature?
So one great thing that we could do, first of all, we could make city council meetings held after work hours.
Seems simple, right?
The next thing we could do, there is an actual feature on Zoom that can live stream Zoom meetings to Facebook. We almost pay $1 million a year for an IT team at City Hall. Why can't we put our Zoom meetings on Facebook, where a large amount of our constituents and tax-paying citizens are? Many people do not know how to operate Zoom. Many people I'll just say many people have a very hard time using technology. We have all of these people in City Hall. We have, public relations. We have people who have worked in all different facets of public administration. They should know this. And I do believe that they do know, but I believe they want to keep the people out. Because the more you know, the more powerful you are, the more you can do. And they want to keep us all out of City Hall. There's no transparency. They don't want people involved. If they really wanted people involved, when you send our water bills out, why not, have a newsletter included in that bill? Why not send out newsletters? I mean, for, about 2 months, I believe I received a newsletter from the city. A lot of people.
Realized that I've never received a newsletter.
Oh yeah, the city has sent me a couple of newsletters in the past. Why not include on those newsletters when the city starts sending them out again? Why not include, information about resources for the people? Why not include, your current council member? Why not include council meeting dates and times? Why not include Nikesha Jackson's phone number on those newsletters so that people can call in beforehand and schedule their appointment or time to talk? I think that we also need to go out and actually speak to our neighbors. So many people right now in Petersburg are in self-preservation mode. They are wanting to, take care of their home, take care of their families.
Survive 2020.
Yes, and they aren't paying attention to what's going on at City Hall. Another big issue is that so many people are sucked into TV shows, and I'm not sure why. You would spend so much of your life watching a TV show. Oh, I do know why. There's actually science behind it. It deals with parasocial relationships. So there is a psychology to why people spend so much of their time watching TV, but they really need to get out and start talking to your neighbors. Start discussing the issues here in the city of Petersburg, whether it be crime, whether it be our schools, how to improve our schools, how to improve our, billing and collection system here in Petersburg. I mean, we could, ask different companies which modernize these services to come in and give us a free estimate. I've already called, I've asked for the metrics from the city of Petersburg because I've called some of these agencies and the city will not respond. They will not give me the metrics that I've asked for. So there are companies out there who want to help our city improve. We have to have a city hall that wants to improve. We have to have a city hall that doesn't just want to improve our city every election year. We're not wanting to wait another 2 years for our other wards to go up. And then as soon as those seats go up, oh, let us upgrade the building collection system. Let us start building a new elementary school for our students. Let us start improving more streets. We cannot wait for an election year, Petersburg. Every time we want something done, there should be consistent upgrades and improvements done to our city. We are paying taxes. We expect these services to be provided. These are expected.
I'll add about the technology. We have, how do I describe Petersburg's technology? I don't know.
Okay.
Yes, that too. I remember going to multiple city council meetings, and I'm hearing people, talking about these discrepancies with the water bills, but like it was done, and there were very serious issues and discrepancies, but they were, sort of by the ways. Once they finished talking, whispering this, this number of people, 50 people, 100 people, we're not sure of whether they paid or this many, connections that are on, and we don't know where they're going to. And I'm listening to this, like, that sounds kind of crazy, and I think that should probably be a bigger, a bigger story. But then I know that, historically they installed smart meters, and then this was done by a contractor who they didn't follow through with the work.
Took the money and ran.
And and they fired the public works director, and I'm assuming that they eventually fixed it, although there was still some...
the issue arose because they didn't read through the contract. I mean, that's a situation that's affecting our entire society. Not enough people are, gaining a love of learning.
This is the first time I've heard that part. I was waiting
Yes,
to hear another
so
side of
they
the
did not
story.
fully read the contract. So they thought that they were paying for the program to read the smart meters, but they did not pay for the program. So they can go around and they can collect the amount that you are using, but they did not pay for the program. I don't know if there's been an update in this, but they did not pay for the program. So what they've been doing is they've been estimating usage. So if you check your water bills, you'll see that it's sometimes always the same amount. It's always an even number. They always estimate it. So I mean, it was a really big mess up. So that's why someone was fired, like you said, and the city could fix the issue, but at this time, I believe our leaders see it as more of a want and not a need.
And this was, I believe, 2016, and I know that when I go through old council meeting minutes, the last time that I really saw something mentioned about technological upgrades was, I think, 2017 when the city administrator started, and then I sort of haven't
Through the
read
rubber
anything.
bob. group.
Yes, and I've sort of not heard anything since. Although I believe that a new IT person, I don't remember the title specifically, was recently. I don't know if they started yet. I remember the position.
Yes, they did.
Okay. And I do know the city administrator mentioned that the city council meetings should be streamed on the website. I don't know when, but that was.
Well,
you know,
they
a
can
short
literally
list of a
just
thing.
click a link on Zoom and they can put the
But
Zoom
that's
link
putting it on Facebook.
on Facebook.
And remember,
So-
it was originally on Facebook Live before we got to Zoom.
Yes. I believe that our public relations director did put it on her phone for Facebook, but the audio was so bad.
Right, that's right.
But what we can do, we have the ability to actually
Or
live
directly
stream
to-
through Zoom and putting it on Facebook. So I'm not sure why they're trying to keep the people out.
Yeah.
They're trying to keep us
Yeah,
all in
hope
the
she's
dark.
listening and can do that. And have we ever heard of a reason that we're having these meetings at 12 noon? I don't think I've ever heard an explanation.
I have not heard an explanation either. I know that
I
in the
can't say-
past-
I think it's. I mean, one, I think it's a horrible idea. But just for most issues with city governments, all that I ever say is just tell us what you're doing. Even for the Blight, they could be working on Blight. They could have very well taken all this data that you all brought in, and they could be working on something.
but
Just
there's no
get up to-
transparency.
Right, so just get up during council meetings and tell us. Make something up. Lie. I would rather, I'm just kidding. But I'm saying at least it would show an effort versus just not saying anything, you know.
Yes, I mean, even if
So
they had a
much-
newsletter
so
with
much
updates that could be provided to the citizens and,
And I mean, newsletters cost money, but.
well, I mean,
but,
even
yeah,
if it's a
but-
virtual
Right,
newsletter.
and hearing you mention that all it takes is printing that page and adding it to the water bill. And we do have a newsletter. I don't know how often it goes out, a virtual one. I don't always click on it. You know, so I've tried to say that you know, the city has made some type of communication effort, but you know, with my original gripe with the city being that someone needs to be out in front of a camera and trying to you know, let the public know of what's going on. You know, some of the positives that you had mentioned, like the high-speed rail coming soon, that recent update.
Well, I mean, there were some negatives behind that as well, which is maybe why they're not wanting to talk about that, because the
Right.
station was actually going to be in Petersburg. So we lost out
You
on
saying
that
that was a negative?
because the station's no
no
longer
longer.
in Petersburg.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be in Ettrick.
There's still a way to spend that.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Positively.
they could, but have they? Haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's just and not showing and having this lack of urgency to issues that's what's causing the voter malaise of why people don't want to get up and you know, attend any of these meetings and to be, you know, engaged in the political process here. And I will say that seeing you speak at the council candidate forum over the weekend, this was my first time seeing you, and I said that Marcus has a very good energy for this. And if nothing else, this is the type of energy that we have not had in the city that's needed to be able to corral people around to be involved.
Well,
And
I mean-
even to, you know, corral staff.
I mean,
Staff and the council.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, a lot of these issues, what I'm seeing, it's just by me going out and being in my community, going on my morning bike rides, going on my late night runs. You know, I discovered what was happening at Fillmore Place.
I encourage
Because-
other council members, by the way, to do the exact same thing. If you've done all of these things, and I'm not saying that you haven't, you know, get on camera and tell us. That's all. It's that simple.
Yeah, well, I mean, I usually run, you know, without a camera, but, you know, I'm just riding around the city. I'm talking to people at Fillmore Place. They're telling me, you know, there are no lights, no AC in their room. You know, it's a COVID-19 hotspot. You know, nobody was passing out personal protective equipment. These are at-risk seniors. You know, the facility is getting $5,000 to $7,000 a month plus for each one of these seniors, and not to have lights, not to have AC in their room, not to have, you know, any personal protective equipment.
Interesting you know that, and I don't recall hearing that figure mentioned during any of the council meetings when that property came up.
Yes, it's all
At
listed.
least
It's all listed on the website. And then another thing,
you know your stuff, and a gripe that I have with the council is that many times I feel that the meetings begin, and I don't think that they look at the agenda packet until 5 minutes before, and it appears to be very obvious. And I think that that's the reason why our meetings go on for as long as they do. You know, the 4 and 5 hours.
Well, I mean, some of these council members are so entrenched. But you know, another thing that I discovered was the issue at Carriage House Apartments, and that's just by being involved and out in your community. You know, I was going for, you know, a 10:30 at night run, and I saw all these seniors sitting on the sidewalk outside of Carriage House, and you know, I'm like, is everything okay? And you know, they told me no, there's no AC in the building, and this was during a major heat wave. These individuals could have died, and they're telling me that they put letters on their doors that were saying, we're not going to turn on the AC until next year. And, you know, I called officials in Washington, I called Code and Compliance, and they went out, Code and Compliance in the city went out, and they were able to actually get the AC turned back on. They, you know, gave fines for over $10,000 to the property owner.
The property owner to do.
Yes.
I don't know how you think you can actually print something like that and put it on people's doors and get away with it.
Yes, well.
Can you elaborate on the fact that the city council voted to get people water turned off during the pandemic?
So yes, I do believe that they were voting to not reconnect any accounts that were already shut off. And then once they received so much feedback from that, you know, people from the state were calling them out. The governor was having his emergency meetings every day, and you know, he heard a whisper of it, so you know, he just spoke without knowing exactly what was going on, and he didn't want to retract his words because you know he has to look like he's the you know governor that knows everything. But Petersburg received so much heat that they actually went out and they talked to citizens, and they actually found out that there were people who still had their water cut off, and they cut their water back on. But yes, we do have a council that did vote to keep people's water cut off during a pandemic, and that is, you know, wicked in itself.
Remember how lackadaisical I thought they were before about these, you know, all of these delinquent accounts in the past, and just not knowing the status of them, just for the pandemic to start and just saying, oh, we've got to deal with this right now.
Well, I mean, I've talked to people in the Fourth before the pandemic started, and they were telling me that, you know, they had lived in their home for, you know, 2 years plus, and they'd never received a water bill. The water was on, but they'd never received a water bill. So it doesn't surprise me, but what does surprise me is how, when the city was pushed and motivated, they had a full out campaign, went to every single door here in Petersburg to make sure people had water. Imagine if the city had that kind of drive to actually help eradicate poverty, to focus on the issues with social services, to focus on community wealth building, to focus on the issue with blight and public safety and cold cases. Imagine if the city could mobilize like that.
Social services. Do you think it's a possibility they try to move the social services back to the downtown?
So I am not 100% sure about why social services picked that location all the way up on the very border. It's literally on the border of Petersburg. It's really inconvenient for anybody who may need some assistance.
I think that Richmond, similarly, I think that they were planning something just like that. I think they wanted to put a stadium somewhere downtown, and they were considering putting social services out to the edge of the city. And the complaint was also that it was quite inconvenient. But I think that there's probably a few theories for that. You know, one might be that maybe they don't want to have the people going through downtown, which kind of says something in and of itself. You know, given our public transportation, that's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of people who are still showing up at the doors of the social service building thinking that it's going to open one day.
Oh my
If
God.
you run around the back portion of the social service building, because I go on runs, so I see these people standing there, and I'm like, what are you all doing? And they're saying that they're waiting for social service to open again.
Oh, good. But this has been closed
For a
at least
while,
year?
yes. But you know, some of these people are illiterate, so they cannot read the signs which are posted on the doors. and they're waiting out at the back. They go, every day, and I told them,
That's
social
awesome.
services has moved to the old mansion food building, and they're like, no, it hasn't.
I mean,
They're
that's
in
the type
denial.
of thing I don't know if anyone in the city administration ever stops by to do the same thing, but
It's on. They all are standing at the back side of the building, not on the front side. They're standing at the back side of the building, waiting for the building to open.
I have family members that tried to go to social services and got so frustrated trying to find it, they just gave up on it.
Yeah, well, and I don't think that is the best option. I do know that there was a developer that wanted the city to hold off from moving to the old mansion site, and they wanted to redo the Titmus Optical Complex, and they wanted social services to be the anchor tenant in that complex. And they were going to renovate the whole complex, but they needed that anchor tenant,
Right.
and the city wouldn't compromise with them. I'm not sure if it's because of certain family members donated to certain individuals' campaign finances. Like they say, follow the money. See who owns that old mansion food building. See who's donating large sums of money to certain council members. It brings a lot of questions to the table. And, I've already have been approached and people have already tried to bribe me through campaign contributions. So if they are comfortable enough with trying to offer me campaign contributions to try to bribe me to change and implement certain kinds of policy, it's showing that they've already done that with past political, candidates and people who are our current representatives. Really, follow the campaign finance follow the campaign finance donations and follow the money. Just follow the money. It's that simple.
Very good advice. Could you tell us what your perfect vision for Petersburg would be? If you could just get everything that you wanted.
I like that Petersburg's a slow town. I do like that aspect of it. I do like that we don't have traffic jams. I do like that I can drive all the way across the city and not have to worry about being in traffic. So I would like to keep that aspect of the city, but at the same time, I would like to see our storefronts in Petersburg, filled with shops. I would like to see new school facilities built. I would like to see, the black-white achievement gap closed here in the city of Petersburg. I would like to see a vocational school implemented here in Petersburg. I would like for us to be a city without such high amounts of poverty and crime. I mean, I really want to focus on community wealth building, getting people off of those social benefit programs and allowing them to build their own wealth and become independent. I would love to push for, entrepreneurship programs. I just want to see a prosperous Petersburg, a prosperous group of Peterpolitans, people who live here in Petersburg. I think that would be my perfect vision of Petersburg. I want everybody to be happy, healthy, and safe. We don't talk a lot, in these different political forums about public health, but public health is a really, really big issue. The number one killer of African Americans in this country is heart disease. We really need to be focusing on educating our people about what to eat, what foods can help your child's brain grow. Did you know omega-3s, can contribute to the development of your child in the womb? Because your body cannot create gray matter for your developing child's brain. We need to focus on educating our young mothers, educating our community on a healthy lifestyle.
All right. Very good. And could you tell me, what would you say that the top issues are that you wanted to address as a council member?
I want to address issues of billing and collections. I don't want people to get these egregious water bills that are estimated. I want to focus on public safety. I want to focus on our schools here in Petersburg.
Do you believe that the treasurer should be back in control of billing collection, or you think it should be the way it is right now?
I think it's under
So-
the city manager now, I think.
Yes. So, in regards to the treasurer, I think that he should remain a constitutionally appointed officer that is, appointed by the people. I do believe that, he should be involved in his duties. But I'm not sure what you mean with in regards to billing and collections. Are you saying that you want him to take Patrice Elliott's position?
No, from my understanding, that some of his power was stripped away from him by the city council. So, I mean,
I think
So
it was collections that was moved, I think, from under the treasurer into the responsibility of the city manager. And I know that there was a lawsuit. I don't remember what the results.
So after the lawsuit, he did regain a bit of his rights, but he still does not control the daily operations of the funds which are coming in and the Office of Billing and
do
Collections.
you believe that should be the treasurer's job?
Yes, I do think that there should be
Back to where it was.
oversight though.
Back to where it was.
Because I do realize that when the cops were first called on him, it's because he was checking for any errors in the petty cash drawers,
Right.
and it turns out money was missing. And who'd they call the cops on?
Yeah.
Him, for checking
Right.
the drawers. I mean, it's almost comical. How on earth are you going to call the cops on the person who discovered that money was stolen? And you have the city manager on camera.
Now, I remember that he was checking for it. I didn't know that there was actually money stolen. I never heard the other side of the story.
Yes, there was money missing.
And when you were saying oversight, are you saying oversight as in him having
Yes,
oversight
because that's.
over the petty drawer, which is what he was trying to do?
And I also think that there should be a system of check and balances in regards to every facet of government.
Right.
If you look at what happened with Kevin Brown, he was able to apparently, write off people's taxes that were being paid, and he could click or check a box saying that Mr. Jones paid his taxes when really he didn't. He was just a friend of Mr. Brown, or I'm not sure exactly how Mr. Brown was rewarded, but it's when we don't have a system of checks and balances that a culture of corruption can start to develop.
I didn't even realize that. I mean, so much happened with him. And one of the good parts about speaking with you is the fact that you actually know some of this history here, in being here and just the amount of time that you have been. But one thing that I recall, I think that when he left, the city was scrambling for $8 or $9 million that we thought that we were in the deficit for, and then look, we found that was it that amount that we in uncashed checks in a drawer.
So I did try to do a FOIA request to see what information the FBI was actually able to uncover when they were dealing with Mr. Brown. And the FBI would not give me any of the records. They said I had to have a case number. So then I did a FOIA request for the case number, and the FBI did not respond to that either. So I'm not exactly sure if I.
Exactly the number. I think it was something like it was.
Yeah, we had
$8 or $9
millions.
they
We
were
had millions
looking
of dollars
for was sitting
which were-
uncashed. It was that amount of uncashed checks in a drawer.
That's the story.
Yeah.
That's the story they're telling us.
And I'm also wondering, is that where our fund balance, I forgot what the term is, was unaccounted for fund balance, like missing, I didn't quite get that correct. Is that where this surplus?
So you're talking
The
about the
amount of
surplus
it came
funds?
from? Yeah.
Well, the current surplus
Possibly.
funds, we have not been, the city hall has not been fully transparent with us regarding the surplus funds.
I'm definitely happy that we have it, but I'm just saying that I think that I wasn't sure if that was,
Well, I'm not sure what they're doing with all of our stormwater fees also. I mean, Miss Farrell Benavides could be building a dangerous house of cards right here in Petersburg right now. There's little transparency which is being provided to the citizenry and the public in general. And, sometimes the city could be using that in their benefit. If one of these bond rating agencies comes in and, they see a positive net balance, and, the city looks like it's doing great in the public image, so then our bond rating goes up, which is good. But as soon as there could be a possible audit as soon as,
Uncovered.
yes. The House of
Do
Cards.
you- Do you know what's the plan or the timeline of reopening the Petersburg Public Library?
No, I am not aware.
You think it's kind of ridiculous that it's still closed? I mean, due to the fact that I know it's a pandemic going on.
Well, the drive-through is still open.
Okay, but
So the drive-through is still open. You can email Antonia, who works at the library. You can email her any documents that you need to get printed off. She'll print them off. You can go there and they'll help you pay your bills. You just have to use the drive-through.
I will say that some of the planned line items for the COVID-19 money was, or the city manager mentioned the possibility of having, I think they were automated thermometers, as well as the touch-free doors. That way the library specifically, I think, was mentioned during the last city council meeting. I only remember because I live tweet all of this for the entire 4 or so hours, to possibly reopen some of our public buildings that are currently closed. So sorry, I think that might possibly answer the question. So it looks like they were looking to do that soon. As far as how soon, I don't know.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think that would be a great thing to let our fellow Peterpolitans have access to, computers, books, and a safe place to read and, hang out. But, there also was an issue with the bathrooms at the library. I believe that at one point someone set up a brothel in
Oh my
the
God.
bathrooms. So they ended up having to get security guards.
Oh my God.
So there were some issues at the library. So I mean, it's not the greatest thing that's ever occurred at the library, but we do have to take into account that we do have to have security guards at that library. I actually wonder what happened to the security guards at the library since it's been closed.
oh yeah, I haven't seen
Oh my
I haven't seen
God.
a security guard post COVID at the library. You used to have security at the library, but I haven't seen no security.
Yeah.
But what else I would say? Even though the library is not somewhere for the homeless to be at, but a lot of the homeless do, be at the library, and I see that a lot of them are at the bus station now, or sitting at the benches and stuff like that. So even though
I guess they were shuffled from the library, obviously. So
Right.
Since it's not open, so it's rather a national thing, where they tend to be inside of the library since there's
Right.
nowhere else to go during the day.
it's most likely the cooling shelter, during the I think it was no cooling shelter during COVID this year due to the fact that during the summer, I think normally it'd be the library. Normally it'd be at the library or the bus station, but none of those cooling shelters was open.
Yeah, I mean, that's fairly unfortunate. As I said, that's generally the place where most of the homeless tend to be. And regarding the dealing with COVID-19, how would you rate the city's management
Well,
of that and the funds?
oh, in regards to the funds,
Yes.
and I mean they're trying now, but when the funds were first distributed, they were holding on to them for a long time. I'm almost wondering if they were waiting for a new policy to be released stating that okay, you guys can use these funds for whatever you want now. And they weren't even using all the funds, and there was a second round of funds which was about to be distributed, and we have businesses that were suffering.
It was a policy that I think the federal government was going to.
I forgot, there was some minor change. I don't
Yeah,
know.
they were going to take away your funds if you didn't use them. It was a use it or lose it policy that was implemented. So the city was like, okay, we're going to use these funds.
December, I think.
Yeah. So now the city is using the funds. I'm glad to see them using it. I hope that they do stay true to their word. I hope that they are following through with the plan that they've had in place. But I'm not going to say that they've been good. I'm not going to say they've been bad. I'm just going to say they've been so-so with their implementation because they have started awarding the grants. So there are some positives.
Have you been to St. Andrew Bridge?
Yes.
recently?
Yeah, I didn't see much of a change. It was more of a show.
I see. Yeah, hopefully they'll start soon. I'll have to admit that I had not. I don't recall being by there. At least this was my first time going on foot. And I tweeted some pictures of it. I was a little surprised to see. I mean, it's a ditch, and there's a rail on one side and kind of not on the other.
Yeah.
You could go
So-
walk. A child can like walk directly into the water.
Yes. So there are public safety issues all around the city. But
That was kind of a big one. Like that's the type of thing that if any city employee or elected official, if you see something like that, I mean, if a child goes and walks clearly into a ditch of water that's several feet deep, you can end up on national news for that.
yes, there are a lot
We had a
of
whole conversation about this. How did that even happen? I was looking at it. Maybe it's not water. Maybe it's not that deep.
yeah. There is a
I'm imagining this because surely no city official would walk by this and allow that to be.
there's a very big pothole at the end of Monticello Street, and if you fall
I didn't
into
want
that
to- I didn't want to-
or not pothole, sinkhole. If you fall into that sinkhole, you could possibly die. And that sinkhole has been there, for the last 4 years it's been there. And then with these storms that we've had, the flash floodings, it has expanded and it's about to take out the street. And the city didn't do anything about it until it crept up to the street, and it's about to take out Mount Vernon Street.
Oh my God.
So we have a city that is reactive and not proactive. They want to wait for a negative situation. They want to wait for a building to fall down. They want to wait for a public safety issue to arise before they actually do anything about that issue.
And this one was kind of important because you just had a press conference there. There are people like myself who might want to, come and check up on work to see how it's doing. Other
Yeah.
members of the media might do the same thing. Imagine a reporter going by there, and taking pictures and saying, "Oh, look, this is an actual death trap here."
And it's been like that
How is
since
that possible?
it closed.
And it's been closed since 2006. I would hope that the rail is, maybe just fell in the last year or something. Humor me. No.
No, that's why I declared the war on Blight. I mean, I remember one time I was running in Old Town and a window pane had fallen behind me, and I heard the glass crash.
Wow.
And for a moment I'm looking around, I'm thinking someone threw a pane of glass at me, and then I look up and another pane falls out the window, and I realize that these buildings are decaying at such a fast rate that they are literally collapsing on the sidewalk. So like you said, it's a death trap, and the city's not doing anything about it, or well, they weren't. So I'm glad that they finally started stepping up during an election year, and they're doing something about it now. But we need to continue to put the pressure on them, Petersburg, because the moment they think that we are not going to bring it up, the moment they think that we're going to back down, then they're going to back down, and they're going to continue to go on their trips out of Petersburg to search for new jobs elsewhere. So we really need to keep the heat on them.
Well, I'm gonna give Marcus the opportunity to give his closing statements. Pretty much tell the people why
Yeah.
it's a vote for you.
So, this November 3rd, and even early voting, it's already started. Please consider me for city council. I am not a developer who is looking for projects for his, or for their child. I will not lie during a city council meeting to try to stop someone's business from opening here in the city of Petersburg. I know how council functions. I know the policy and procedures. And I want to continue to advocate for you here in the city of Petersburg. I want to make sure Petersburg is a prosperous city. I want to make sure that we are a safe city. I want to make sure we are an innovative city. And I want to make sure that we're a city that focuses on you, the people who live in Petersburg. Thank you.
And thank you for agreeing to do this interview with us. I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Absolutely.
And I do have a Facebook page, Marcus Squires for the 4th. I'm on Facebook. So please like it. And feel free to reach out to me as well. I'm readily available via Facebook Messenger. Thank you.
All right. And don't forget to like and follow us on Facebook, Petersburg Solution.